how well are gamepads supported in the new Microsoft Flight Simulator? Let's talk about it in this video. Welcome back to the Game & Muscle YouTube channel. Click that like button and subscribe if you enjoy simulator content. So, yes, game controllers are supported. I get asked this question repeatedly. I am going to be using the Xbox One controller, the wireless controller in this video, and of course I'm using it on PC. Now, it shouldn't really be a surprise that gamepads are supported, as this is going to be on the games console as well as PC. And it shouldn't be a surprise that, in my opinion, the gamepad support is actually really quite nicely done in this. In order to demonstrate that, I have loaded up one of the landing missions in the sim. And I'm going to talk through how the Xbox One controller works with this, as well as some of the settings you can adjust to maybe make it easier for you. So, in terms of how it works, you've got the left analog stick to control the yoke. By default, it's very sensitive, but you can adjust that sensitivity to whatever you want. You use the right analog stick to look around the cockpit as a free look. You use the A button to accelerate, B button to deaccelerate, shoulder buttons to adjust flaps, push the left analog stick down to put your landing gear down, and you can then jump to cameras using the D-pad, or jump left, look left and right, snap left and right. And they've done a really good job actually of these jump to cameras, so you go to really nice positions if you want to specifically look at the displays, or you want to look out over the nose, you know, really nicely done pre-selected cameras. You can also adjust and tweak all those pre-selected cameras to whatever you want. And then using the triggers, you can control the yaw of the aircraft. Now, obviously, an aeroplane has way more buttons in the cockpit than a game controller has. And also, if you've got a cheaper stick, there's more buttons in a cockpit than there will be on your devices. But fortunately, a lot of the buttons can be double bound. So, for example, on the game controller, stuff like trim can be accessed by pressing Y and then doing up and down on the D-pad, so you can then trim the aircraft. Y is also braking when you're on the ground. You can customize and set all those things up. And to be honest, I think the actual control implementation is really nicely done in this. It's really intuitive. It's what you'd expect. The only thing I would possibly adjust out of the box would be the nose camera. I'd rather have the camera slightly lower in height, and I would adjust the sensitivity of the yoke because it is a little bit too sensitive, and maybe I'd adjust the sensitivity of the yaw. At the moment, this is all set to defaults, but to be honest, with practice, you could totally learn how to fly the planes, and from an external viewpoint, someone wouldn't be able to tell that you were flying using a game controller. You can learn how to fly really smooth with a game controller, even in quite turbulent situations. So we're just coming into this airport here. I doubt I'm going to get a good landing score. I'll be clear, it is a lot easier to fly this, I find, with a yoke or a joystick, obviously, because they have a lot more movement range to them. It's like how a steering wheel is a lot easier to drive a simulated race car than a gamepad, purely because it just gives you more degrees of input, so it allows you to be more precise. I have to, again, give credit to Microsoft here. They haven't compromised the flight dynamics when you play with a gamepad. So maybe that does make it a little bit more tricky than some of the less realistic flying games. Yeah, it's perfectly playable with a gamepad. And as you can see here, I'm going to have to do a go around here, which is perfectly fine by me, because it's an opportunity to talk about solar panels. I didn't notice them last time. That's nice. It's a perfect opportunity to talk about the graphics again. Look at the view. How can we disguise the fact that I totally butchered that landing attempt? Yes, well, look at the view. Look at the clouds and how they're obscuring the sun. And then look how the sun is getting through a gap there and then illuminating the sea with a nice green, diffuse green tint to it. Absolutely gorgeous. Passengers love flying with Game & Muscle Airways. We give them extra flight time and sightseeing for free. No, it's not to do with me missing the runway at all. Let's go around again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm terrible at flying, and even worse when it comes to flying with the gamepad. So the other thing we're saying actually with the gamepad is you do have rumble, of course, on the gamepad. I've not noticed trigger haptics at the moment. Bearing in mind this is the press build, I don't think they might tweak these sort of things more when it comes out in the games consoles. You don't get trigger haptics, but you do get rumble for if you start stalling the aircraft by turning too steeply or just stalling. And it's quite a nice rumble. There's quite a few different types of variations to the rumble. And you also get rumble for the wheels when you've landed, so you get a good feeling for the for the actual runway surface, and if you know how heavy you land and everything. Which again, it's just nice. It gives you that haptics. It allows you to basically, you can play the game perfectly fine with a gamepad. Now this aircraft is really, I've only just started flying this aircraft, and it's a really weird flight dynamics to it, because it kind of glides and then it drops like a brick. But the engines on it are super, super powerful, so it's a hard one to get right. I think we're still coming in a bit too hot, but we'll go for it. Oh, bit smooth it out. Oh, jeez. Look at that. Oh, it's not going to slow down enough. No, 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 no. Helipad, helipad. Oh, we got it. No, no, no. Whoa. That's good enough. We didn't end up in the sea. Perfect landing. So, yeah, I mean, I'll go to the settings page here so you can have a look for the controls. The game didn't like that landing. I thought it was a pretty good one. But I'll show you the actual input options you can go into here. So, options, controls, and you'll see we've got half our stuff. I have force feedback steering wheels, flight, you know, I've got the Brunner force feedback joystick, which we'll do videos on that soon. You know, so much stuff plugged in, so it gets a bit absurd. But you see we've got the controller set up here, and you can just bind whatever you want in the game, and you can also search for all the options. You can filter by what's assigned, which is really handy, because if you're playing a flight sim more casually, you don't necessarily need all the options bound. You just need the main ones bound. But you know, if you want to go totally bonkers, or there's a certain specific thing you like to have set up with your gamepad or whatever controller you're using, it's there, and it's easy to do. So we should have the basic flight controls. There we go, flight control surfaces here, and primary control surfaces. So here you see we can you can actually see the inputs going on there, and then if you, I didn't mean to click my wrong mouse there. If you go to sensitivity, which you can activate by pushing the left stick when you've got the option up on there, you can then fully adjust how all these, you know, if you want like a linear or non-linear response from the curves and everything. This is like glitching out a little bit because my mouse is broken. But yeah, so you can fully adjust all the curves and everything on here to add in dead zones, make it linear, non-linear, you know, whatever you want to do, it's all there. So it's really, really nicely done. So I have to give credit to Microsoft for that. And obviously this applies to any controller. It's not just the Xbox controller. But hopefully, guys, that lets you know that you can play this with a game controller. And in my opinion, it actually works very well with a game controller. So 9 out of 10 blades of grass for Microsoft. We just need more haptic controls from the triggers and stuff, which would be really interesting with the next gen console, actually, how that's done. But yes, thank you for watching this, guys. If you found it useful, let me know. Click that like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video that we do, which will be very soon indeed. Till then, happy tea drinking. Goodbye.